Yo guys, I've got a spark which I'm going to use to ignite the fire for another video here on the channel. It's been over 4 years since the Netflix animated television show Skylanders Academy wrapped up, and it left me very satisfied as a massive Skylanders fan. It filled me with joy to see some of my favourite characters fully animated, woven into a passionately told story with twists and turns, as well as fun action sequences and comedic moments to make it for a fast-paced and incredibly entertaining show. Easily the greatest appeal behind the show was the fact that it could be enjoyed by broad audiences, regardless of whether you've played a Skylanders game or not, but this video isn't here to serve as a review for this incredible show. Instead I want to talk about characters, specifically those characters I wish were put into the show but we never actually got to see. I understand with budgeting to introduce new characters is tough, as you need to create a whole new model to animate, which takes up time and resources. But still, there were so many characters with untapped potential that never made it into the show, and today I'm counting down the 10 characters I would have liked to have seen. Please bear it in mind that this is my list, and these are the characters I would have liked to have seen. We all have different favourites when it comes to the vast cast of Skylanders, as we all like different Skylanders for different reasons. I encourage you to share your lists in the comment section below, but be sure to be respectful of one another's opinions. That being said, characters with significant universal appeal amongst the fan base and somehow still didn't make it into Skylanders Academy are still being considered by me for this list right here, even if they're not personal favourites of mine. I'm mainly looking for the characters whose addition would have the potential to improve upon the show the most, whether that's from their backstories, something which Skylanders Academy demonstrated to care about with Jet Vac's pep talk with Spyro.
I used to rush into action without a plan every time too. I didn't worry about the rules. But then I lost something that meant the world to me.
Your wings.
Wings? What? No. I sacrificed those in an epic moment of heroism. There was a widow, an orphanage, a huge fire. They even wrote a song about it.
Or is their personality and how that would impact the group dynamic we all love Skylanders Academy for. Now, if that having been said and done, let's roll that intro and get into the top 10 countdown without further ado. For number 10, we have the Swap Force character Washbuckler. We never got more than a quick passing mention to the Swap Force characters, so it would have been nice to see at least one of them in the flesh. To fulfill upon that purpose, I'd elicit the utilisation of Washbuckler, as he's arguably the most iconic swapper, being the poster boy for the game and part of the starter pack overall. I also think he could have had some really interesting animation given that he has 6 legs. We saw a glimpse of the unique movement animations this could provide for in some of the animated Swap Force trailers, so seeing this elaborated upon would have made the character even more unique and fun to watch. For number 9, I have a character who was actually planned for the show, that being T-Rex. In his proposed episode, he would have helped Stealth Elf find her parents. I'm not sure if this was scrapped in favour of an Ingenie episode or because of an Ingenie episode, as having 2 entire episodes dedicated to Stealth Elf seeking out the help of giants would have seemed repetitive and lackluster. Still though, the episode premise is really cool, and just from that premise alone we get a glimpse into what a relationship between T-Rex and Stealth Elf would have looked like. I would have loved to have seen this mentorship as well as the massive tree obliterating foes, but with a meaningful connection along the way to our main characters. Plus, T-Rex is no doubt one of the most iconic Skylanders ever made. You can't think of Skylanders Giants without this character immediately jumping to mind, so it's a shame we never got to see someone so iconic in the show. For number 8, I have Deja Vu. This character would have been a great addition to the show on so many levels. Firstly, her design is based on French culture, so this would have been a great way to share that culture with the entire world through this character. She would have really diversified the cast, and she had the perfect setup already found within the show to be introduced. Remember that time traveling episode where Crash, Eruptor and Spyro travel through time in the 3rd season? Well, imagine if, to travel through time, they must elicit the help of Deja Vu. From there, she could deliver all sorts of hilarious monologues about messing with the stability of space and time. Overall, she no doubt would have had fantastic chemistry with all the other characters, and her unique powers would have lent themselves perfectly to already existing episodes. What a waste of potential indeed. For number 7, I have Chop Chop. Given the broad fan appeal behind this character, I'm honestly shocked that he never got an appearance in the show, especially later on when Archeans started being introduced. Eruptor needed some convincing that Chaos Andra was on their team, so what better way to prove to him that good can exist pretty much anywhere than with a being descending from an evil race of Archeans and how he can still be a Skanda hero. We're talking of course about Chop Chop and how he would fulfill upon that role incredibly well. So between the potential of having an Archean which fights for the side of good, as well as the immense popularity of this character, it once again shocks me that Chop Chop was never introduced into the show. Number 6 is Gill Grunt, easily as universally beloved as Chop Chop, if not more so. Skylanders Academy doesn't have any underwater episodes, which surprises me given the large number of children's animated TV shows that have some sort of underwater episode along its lines. Most shows of this caliber don't get through their entirety without having at least one episode set underwater after all, so Gill Grunt obviously would have been perfect for an underwater episode, or he could have just been a fun character in general. We saw the chemistry he had with Spyro in the opening cutscene to the Mushroom River.
Gill, what's up?
Yeah, I've been doing a little recon here, Spyro. This place is teeming with that newfangled Imaginite.
This being fleshed out even further for the show would have been incredible to watch. Number 5 is Starstrike. Her backstory would have been implemented really well into this show, no doubt. She's actually summoned by Chaos but winds up turning against him, and that's when she becomes a Skanda. In the show, perhaps Chaos is practicing his magic in hopes of impressing Strikor. When he accidentally summons Starstrike, she could ultimately become the Skanda, which is his undoing in the end, and that level of irony would have been hilarious to play up to. Or her introductory episode could feature her helping Chaos out at first, but another character convinces her to help them out instead, and so, after seeing Chaos's true colours, she turns against him and forms a strong bond with the character that convinces her. I'm thinking that role could be Stealth, especially since her character already plays off every other character so well. In other words, she has chemistry in every single one of the relationships she forms. There's even another possible option where Starstrike fights the Skylanders, but when they defeat her, she has shown mercy. When the time comes for Chaos to fight for Skylanders, he is winning, so Starstrike shows the Skylanders the same act of mercy they showed to her as she saves them from Chaos herself. That would have not only been a great character arc for her, but it would have taught children the morals of mercy. Either way you spin it, Starstrike would have been awesome to have seen in the show, and it's a shame we never got such a thing. Number 4 on the other hand is Thrillipede. Once again, his introduction could have really played up to his backstory. He's a very skilled pilot who even bests Flynn in a friendly competition. Flynn was in the show already, and we had an entire episode dedicated to a race. So Thrillipede's inclusion as part of this episode would have made so much sense. He could be for Skarna's mentor during the race. He and Flynn could even butt heads, which is when the nature of Thrillipede's backstory would come up. This relationship would have been incredibly entertaining to watch and would have been great fan service, which is why it's such a shame we never got to see it. Plus, we didn't get any supercharge within the show, so having Thrillipede fulfill that role as well would have been the perfect potential to fulfill upon. For number 3, I have Flameslinger. This character would have worked on so many levels. Firstly, I imagine he'd have a lot of chemistry with Stealth Elf, as they're both elves, but Flameslinger strikes me as the cocky type. Now, Spyro's arc in The Pilot is about him learning to be more humble, so seeing this exact thing play out again with Flameslinger could have been repetitive, so alternatively, he would have worked really well as the character who taught Spyro some humility. Stealth Elf is a very hard-working and skillful warrior, and she spends most of her days training to better herself, making sure she's prepared for whatever evil forces throw at her. I think Flameslinger training right alongside her could make for some very entertaining moments as they compete and ultimately are always trying to best one another. They have something to prove in their friendly competitions, in other words, and that would have just been incredible to watch. Number 2 is Igniter, which is surprising coming from me, as I obviously want to see my favourite character in the show, but not to the point where he's number 1, so I'm going to set my bias aside and tell you why Igniter still would have made a great inclusion in the show. First of all, his enchanted suit of armour is always on fire, as is his fire sword, and that could have made for some really nice animation, but his backstory could have been taken full advantage of to craft a really interesting character arc, one that really invests you and hooks you in the show further, and a way to really play off other characters in a dynamic format. because in his backstory he's tricked by a witch into wearing an enchanted suit of armour which he is binded to for all of eternity. Naturally this gives him a distaste for witches. Hex is already a secondary character in the show, so maybe if they could have got some scenes together and those scenes could have been full with character chemistry and entertainment value. But what I think Igniter's main arc could have been was him sacrificing his revenge to protect those which he cares about. Maybe he finds the witch that tricked him, and he must choose whether to exact his revenge or save his friends from terrible fate. This inner conflict would have been captivating, and it also has a theme behind it to make the writing of the show all that much stronger. Trust is something to be given out in moderation. You can't be over-trusting, as then you're easily hurt by betrayal, but never having any trust pushes people away and you're left vulnerable and alone. Trust is all about growth, getting to learn who you trust and who you don't. This way, you can be the right amount of trusting so you aren't hurt by neither betrayal or loneliness. So yes, it's not that Igniter is my favourite Skylander of all time. His inclusion on this list is also based on the potential of his character, but there is one more character we never got in Skylanders Academy that has even more potential than Igniter, which is really saying a lot given how much potential Igniter already has. And that character is Aurora. She's Eon's niece, so right off the bat that relationship there has a lot of potential. The moral is so powerful that it can even reach for parents watching the show alongside their children, as we're told about the dangers of overprotection and how that can push people to put themselves in precarious situations only to prove themselves. Aurora is also an incredibly detailed character, so her animation would look fantastic. Her speed gives her attacks a unique appeal, so she could have excellent lessons to teach our characters, as Skylanders Academy, at its heart, is a show about teaching and learning. Our characters, despite how perfect their conceptions of themselves are, despite them believing that there is nothing more for them to learn, time and time again it is proven that there is always a lesson to be had. So between the potential for Aurora's chemistry with the entire cast, as well as the lessons she could teach, both to the characters of the show as well as the people watching the show, either way this character would elevate the storytelling, and ultimately I feel cheated that this character wasn't ever included. With all of this potential she possessed and those relationships the writers could have easily drawn upon from the Skylanders lore already set in motion to better all of the other characters, it's a massive shock that Aurora was never included in Skylanders Academy, which is why she's easily number one for this list. Now with that being said and done, this top 10 here is coming to an end. I sure hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to smash that like button, and whilst you're down there, subscribe to the channel to keep up to date with uploads on the channel. I'll be seeing you in the next top 10 countdown, but for now we have an iconic outro to be concluding the video with, so let's get to it. With that being said and done, this video is coming to an end, and I want to thank you all so much for watching. By merely clicking on this video, you've shown support and helped it garner recognition so it can reach many other viewers here on YouTube. I'd love to see you take the extra step and leave a like on the video if you enjoyed. Also be sure to comment below and push that subscribe button whilst you're down there. By clicking elsewhere on screen, you can either check out a video that's specifically picked out for you, or you can check out the rest of the playlist for a series you just watched. Before ending off, I'd like to thank all of my Blazing Knights and Scorching Dragons whose support helped make these videos possible. I'll be seeing you in the next video, and until that moment arises, peace!